Hello everybody, welcome back. It's time to talk about Week 5, Northville versus Howell. But I want to start this one a little bit differently. I want to take a trip down memory lane and talk briefly about the 2023 season. Not for Northville, but for the team they played this game, Howell and the Howell Highlanders. Last year was not a great season for Howell. They ended with a record of 3-6. When I made my preview video earlier in the season, I did not have a lot to say about them. The only thing I really said about them was that they had flashes of brilliance last year. What I mean by that is last year they had a kind of surprising win against Brighton, 43-7. Brighton was a team that made the playoffs last year. I think, at least looking at the record, this is a little bit of a surprise to me. So when I was making that video, I just wondered, what did Howell have in that game? And can they bring it to the forefront for this season? And I don't know exactly how they won that game, but it feels like they have turned those flashes of brilliance into a winning formula. Because coming into this game, they are 4-0. They've already topped last season in the win column, no matter what happens for the rest of the season. And I absolutely did not expect this. I totally underestimated how I thought this team would do. Now, I'm going to do something that I don't normally do in this series. I kind of like to switch it up how I describe the games to you. I'm going to tell you the final score of this game right in the beginning because I want to tell you how Howell are getting it done right now. That's a brain twister, how Howell. The final score of this game, 27 Howell, Northville 12. The Highlanders pick up their 5th win of the season and deal Northville their 3rd loss of the season. And the way Howell won this game is really interesting to me because for a 5-0 team, a lot of times you're thinking about like Belleville, who seems like they can just do whatever they want and get away with it, make these huge plays and win games in utter dominating fashion. Howell is a little bit different. What they do isn't super complicated, but they are really good at what they do. They play old-fashioned, they play rough, they don't get the ball in the air very often. They just grind it out. They run a power T formation, which, hey, look at this little fancy graphic I found on the internet. They've got quarterback under center. The quarterback for Howell is number 10, Preston Barb. They've got 3 men in the backfield. 2 of those are running backs. Justin Jones, number 5. You'll be hearing a lot about him in this video, as well as number 22, Bryce Kish. And then you've got 2 tight ends on either side of the line. Howell have a Michigan commit tight end in Bobby Conca. He's also a defensive lineman. They have a big guy playing at tight end. And pretty much Howell run the same play over and over again. They have their quarterback handed off to one of these running backs, and they gain about 4, 5, 6 yards every single time because they've got huge guys on the offensive line. They block, they create holes, and they allow Justin Jones, the running back, just to slip through. And when you watch the recap, which is coming up, I swear it's about to happen, Northville lose this game by 2 scores. It wasn't a blowout, which Howell are pretty used to doing this year, especially in the conference games. But it was a game where I think Northville were on the back foot for pretty much the whole game. Howell won the coin toss, and they took control of that clock as soon as they could. They elected to receive on the first play, which is something we have not yet seen this season. So I've talked a lot about Howell. This is supposed to be a video series about Northville. You just don't see stuff like this very often. So let's jump into the recap now, and I will show you how it all went down. And here it is, the recap. Week number 5, Northville versus Howell. This was homecoming for Northville, by the way. Now, as I said before, Howell won the coin toss, and they elected to receive in the first half. So this is a Howell ball to begin the game. And I'll give credit where credit's due. Howell did not jump right into the power T formation right away. They did try some other things on this first drive. Northville got a few good plays on them when Howell was still finding their groove. We've got a tackle for loss here. That's number 33, Blake Chimmel, on the tackle. But Northville also get a penalty here, roughing the passer, and that sets up Howell in great field position, and they find their groove. They get into that power T formation, and once they start running, it's pretty hard to slow them down and stop them. Howell score their first touchdown of the game, courtesy of the running back, Justin Jones. And take a look at the clock down there. There's only 4 minutes left on the clock in the first quarter when Howell get their touchdown. Their first drive took up about 8 minutes. That is clock domination. I don't think I've ever seen it done quite like that, especially this season. Northville get a penalty on the PAT attempt, so Howell decide to go for 2. Preston Barb actually passes this one, but it is blocked by Ryan O'Neal. So the score halfway through the first quarter, Howell 6, Northville 0. Northville's first drive of the game begins in one of the strangest ways I've ever seen. Looks like they're setting up for a screen pass, but the ball just doesn't throw. It just doesn't happen. The ball just falls out of Cooper Durketch's hand. Minute 33 left in the first quarter. It's 4th down for Northville, and we get to see a pretty cool trick play. Cooper Durketch hands it to Max DeFore, who hands it to Colin Charles, and he goes for a run, and it's 1st down for Northville. Heading now into the second quarter, still Northville's ball. Cooper Durketch passes it deep to Colin Charles, and they rule this one incomplete. And on the next play, Durketch sets it up to throw again, but it is tipped by none other than the Michigan commit, Bobby Conca, and Northville turn it over on downs. No score for them. That sets up Howell with solid field position. They're already in the groove, and they're ready to go again, and they bring it down the field, and it's another touchdown. Once again from Justin Jones. Howell do not attempt a 2-point conversion. They just kick this one. Luis Maldonado Vasquez. Kick is good. Howell up 13-0. Northville needs to get something going in this game. It's 2nd down and 1. Durketch hands it off to Max DeFore, and he breaks through all of the defenders and takes it home for a Northville touchdown, their first of the night. That is a 53-yard rush for Max DeFore, and it breathed some life into this game for Northville. On the ensuing PAT attempt, there's a problem with the snap, and the holder, Hudson Boots, spends a lot of time looking for someone to throw it to, but it goes incomplete. So Northville end up with no extra points, 13-6, with 7 minutes to go in the half. Now, one of the things about running consistent play over and over again is that you get a lot of 4-yard gains, 5-yard gains, and 6-yard gains, but every once in a while, you have one that just breaks free and goes the distance. That is exactly what happens for Howell. A 42-yard rush by Justin Jones, and Howell score their 3rd touchdown of the night. And once again, the kick is good. Howell up 20. Northville respond. They drive it all the way back to the red zone. And once again, Max DeFore takes it for another Northville touchdown. It is all rushing in the first half of this game. A minute 22 to go. Northville attempt a 2-point conversion. Pass is intended for number 8, Cole Antasio, but it is tipped by number 13 on the Howell side, and it goes incomplete. Now here's a really big moment in this game. This could have turned the whole thing around for Northville. It is 3rd down for Howell, and Northville actually get a sack and stop Howell. It is Caden Kubin on the stack, and that flag is actually for Howell as well. So they get a penalty slapped on top of them, and that forces Howell to punt this ball away. That is something that, honestly, sitting in the stands, I didn't even know if it was possible to stop Howell at this point. So that is a huge stop, and that gives Northville the ball back, but they don't get possession until 25 seconds left in the quarter. And this is what I talked about earlier in the video. This is a moment where Northville needed to move really fast, where they need to throw the ball and they need to do it quickly. They don't have a lot of time. Northville want to double dip here because they will have possession at the beginning of the third quarter. Cooper Durketch takes a shot at the end zone intended for Colin Charles, but it is blocked, and ultimately Northville run out of time and do not score before the end of the quarter, leading into halftime. A huge opportunity to get this to be a 1 or 2 point game. They end up with nothing, but that is okay because they get the ball back to start the third quarter. Northville drive it all the way down to the red zone, and you can see there's only 6 minutes left on the clock. On third down, though, Cooper Durketch gets swallowed up by the Howell defense, and that brings up 4th and 14. On 4th down, Durketch connects with Drew Rankin, but it only goes 13 yards. And after all that time, you can see there's barely only 5 minutes left in the quarter. Northville tried to retake control of the clock. They turn it over on downs with nothing to show for it. Howell happy to return the favor on the clock. They bring this one into the fourth quarter and score their 4th and final touchdown of the night, once again courtesy of Justin Jones. I told you I would talk about him a lot in this video. Responsible for all 4 touchdowns for Howell. Northville get the ball back, 11 minutes to play for. We've got a flea flicker here, and then Cooper Durketch shoots it deep, intended for Colin Charles, but once again, it is blocked. It is dropped. It goes incomplete. Another moment, just like the 4th down and 14 and the catch from earlier. If this pass had been completed, this would have been a huge moment for Northville to get back in this game. But in the end, they end up turning it back to Howell. Northville able to get another big 4th down stop against Howell that brings the offense back out. But it's a 15-point game. In order for Northville to win this game, take the lead, they would need 2 touchdowns, 2 2-point conversions, and an onside kick in between. Unfortunately, none of that ends up mattering because this pass intended for number 41, Nathan Brohl, gets grabbed by Howell. It is intercepted. Howell back out on the field. They take victory formation, and that ends this game. A tough loss for Northville. They were not able to get any points out of those key moments when they got stops on Howell. That's really the key to it. And they weren't able to run the ball as much as they wanted to because they were just in a pressure situation. It's unfortunate, but it is the way that this game goes. Howell win and take their 5th win of the season, and Northville will be heading to Salem looking to rebound. With their 3rd loss of the season, they find themselves 2-3, and right now they are on the wrong side of the cut line for the Michigan High School playoffs. They're on the outside looking in. The game's coming up for Northville: Salem, Heartland, and then back at home, Novi and the crossover. I'd say looking at that schedule, obviously there's no such thing as a guaranteed win, but I'd say Salem and Heartland are their best shots at wins. Novi is going to be another tough one. Another home game for Northville that's really going to be tough. They're not having it easy at home this year, that is for sure. But that's a rivalry game, so you pretty much have to throw the record out for that one anyway. No matter what happens, that is going to be a close game. And then the crossover game, which it could be against anyone at this point. We really don't know. 4 wins might be enough to make the playoffs, but it's no guarantee. 5 wins should be enough to make the playoffs, but I think if you're Northville, you want to get some momentum going and you want to enter the playoffs with some confidence. So I think they're going to be looking at winning out the rest of the season. And that all begins next week against Salem. Another away game. Northville undefeated away so far, and it's another game in Plymouth. This game against Salem is actually a really historic matchup. It goes all the way back to when this was the Plymouth Rocks. and Plymouth High School was in downtown Plymouth. I wouldn't really call it a rivalry game. Salem hasn't won this matchup since 2017, but I'll say it, I think Salem this year are better than Canton and probably even Plymouth up to this point. They only have one win, but they've had some pretty close games against Heartland and Novi up to this point. So you never know. This is a really important game for Northville, though. They need to get some momentum going. And that is going to do it for this video. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one.